Guess who didn't really vlog at FanExpo? Okay, well, there's definitely a few reasons for that, mainly because it was so damn crowded. Sure, I could have vlogged behind my table, but it was also my busiest and best performing con, so the only breaks I'd had were to eat and use the restroom. Not to mention there was some kerfuffle at the start where I had to move to a different table at the start of the con, so there was just so much that went on that didn't really put me in the right headspace to vent and vlog at the same time, because this con was overstimulation galore, and I probably looked really sweaty and frazzled. So this is just a summary of my experience tabling at my biggest event yet, with some footage I did find time to take before doors opened, because there were literally the only times I could vlog conveniently without having to maneuver through the dense crowds. So let's just jump right into it. Day 1 was advanced setup. Since I'm local, it was easier just to bring my one suitcase that just had my display stuff in, and then I bring my suitcase with all my merch the following day. Commuting downtown isn't awful, but lugging multiple suitcases is, so I'm glad I did that because I would have died. Finally, it was the first day of FanExpo, and it was hectic to say the least. I'm not gonna bore you with the hows and whys, but basically what happened was I got moved to a different table. That was thankfully just down the aisle, so I didn't really need to fully take down my display, but the con had already started at that point, so we just had to be careful when carrying my display to the new table. And given that I was now at a full table, I hit up my friend last minute like, yo, you want a table with me? And she was like, oh my god, I'm in bed with my dog, but sure. It was pretty stressful because I'm still in the process of settling into this new spot and having to reorganize everything, and I'm already getting customers asking for stuff, so I'm just like sweating from head to toe like, Jack and Si and the Weather Duo, right? You got it. Okay, where's my charm box? Oh, you also want to peep my card? Okay, where's my square reader? But I was able to regain some composure until my friend finally arrived, and she eventually got set up beside me. Thankfully, this would be the most stressful thing that happened during the weekend, so we can only go up from here. Except for the fact that I didn't realize the first day ended later than the rest of the weekend, and I wanted to get dinner with some friends, and as we finished up, we unfortunately got caught up in the sea of people who were returning from the Jonas Brothers concert, so Union Station was disgustingly packed. I ended up getting home past midnight, and I still had some restocking to do, so I was up until like 2 AM, and maybe got 4 hours of sleep for day 2, which, god, I am never staying past 9 PM on a weekend downtown. I'm running on 4 hours of sleep for day 3, but fuck it, we ball. There was still an hour left before opening, so I'm spending that hour getting ready and trying to wake myself up more, which I think was a smart move on my part because the Friday traffic was crazy. A lot of customers from my previous day were saying how they were going to spend more on the Friday because that's when most people got paid, and they did not mess around. My friend and I even placed a rush order from our prints because we didn't think we'd have enough for the rest of the weekend at this rate. Also, side note, why the hell do chain print shops have different prices depending on location? For reference, I got 35 8.5 by 11 prints on 12-point cardstock, plus 10 11 by 14 prints on 12-point cardstock at this one location I ordered at regularly for about $55. Not great, but not terrible either. The same print shop at the location closest to the con? I needed 20 8.5 by 11 prints on 12-point cardstock and 10 11 by 14 prints on 12-point cardstock and was charged over $80 for them? Maybe you can chalk it up to a rush fee on top of people also probably ordering their own prints last minute, but almost double the price? The print shop I usually order from fulfilled my order on the same day I placed the order for much less. And this isn't even the first time this has happened. I've gotten quotes from different locations on a regular day, and they all gave me different quotes for the exact same specifications. Make it make sense! Anyway, back to the con. So my Deltarune stuff is popping off, along with some surprising sellers like my Legends Arceus print. Like, huh? Okay, sure, I'm not gonna complain, but was not expecting that. But maybe because people are excited for the new Pokemon Legends game, that it's reminding people of the first one? If Friday was this busy, how busy was Saturday going to be? So I don't feel very prepared for Saturday, so I bring as much as my restocks of stuff I can possibly carry, and then on Saturday morning I went fuck it and just grabbed all of my Deltarune charms just in case. Also, the DHL gods smiled down on me and they delivered my Tenna lanyards that I didn't think were going to arrive in time for the con, so I was able to actually bring them too and sell them. But then I only had 2 left, including the display one by the end of the day. Saturday wasn't as busy as Friday, but was still really good. I think I made the right call of bringing all of my Deltarune charms because the bag I carried them in went looking from being filled to the brim to being almost empty. And for the first time ever since I started tabling at cons, I think I brought just enough of my bestsellers to keep up with demand for all 4 days, which is crazy to me because if there was one con I felt the most unsure and unprepared for in terms of inventory, it was FanExpo. And I ended up bringing just enough stuff without selling out too early on. Maybe all of my convention experience thus far has prepared me for this con. Sunday felt the same as Thursday. Also, most of the footage you're seeing is from before doors opened on Sunday because I got there a lot earlier this time. It's also the easiest and best time to actually check out the rest of the floor even if booths weren't set up for the day. There were a lot of elaborate corporate booths as you can see, and it was really cool to see how interactive and well designed most of them were. I kinda wish I could've gone to the Addams Family Mansion or the Conjuring Haunted House thingy. I don't actually know if it was a haunted house, I'm just assuming based off of what I know of the films, but there was also constant banging noises coming from it, so I'm guessing it's some sort of horror experience at the very least. I was also disappointed that I didn't get to check out Nintendo's booth and play any demos, but that's bad timing on my part. A friend who did go said that the wait was about an hour and 15 minutes, and you got to choose 3 demos to play, 20 minutes each. So you would need to set aside at least 2 hours for Nintendo's booth, so that wouldn't have worked out for me because I went around 3:30, and at the end of the con was 5 o'clock. But I also went because I wanted the Switch 2 tote bag I kept seeing everyone carrying around at the con, and I did get it, so at least I have a souvenir from Nintendo's booth. Teardown was just the usual, except for the fact that there was a long line for the 2 elevators that we had to use, unless you could carry your suitcase in your arms up the escalators, which I couldn't do because I have 2 suitcases and I'm one person. Eventually, I did get out of the building, waited for my ride, got home, and then Uber Eats my dinner. Now for the fun part. Time to talk about all the good things, the bad, which surprisingly weren't many, and other highlights from my very first time vending at FanExpo. Let's start with the bad first. Aside from the few annoyances I mentioned earlier, the other biggest annoyance I have with FanExpo in general is the plethora of resellers and even the few AI art vendors that slip through the cracks. Not only do those booths take away opportunities for genuine artists, it also reflects badly on the con organizers themselves. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that running a con is easy, but making an effort to do even a bit of vetting shows that you care to an extent. Hell, Toronto Game Expo just recently sent out an email saying that they're going to implement a jury to vet their artists and weed out resellers and AI art vendors at their events. It's just weird for FanExpo to expand their artist alley without first removing those aforementioned tables, because by adding more tables, you're basically opening the floor for more of those tables to have a place at your show. I can give some benefit of the doubt in that they intended to add more tables because they're aware of how difficult it is for new artists to table at their events, but without any sort of vetting measure in place, you're also giving grifters and scammers more opportunities too. This problem is only going to grow, unfortunately, and honestly, the best thing you can do as an attendee to combat this is to do your research, like do some background check on an artist if you suspect them of selling AI art, and by not supporting these vendors. Because they'll be losing money, meaning their likelihood of rebooking for the next year decreases. After all, the only end goal for these people is profit. They don't care about the art community and they don't care about attendees. They only see you as dollar signs and a means to an end. Always support human artists. With that out of the way, let's talk about the good, and which there are many. It always makes me so happy to see regular customers visit me at all these different cons, especially those who are visiting from outside of Toronto to attend. There's been a few regulars I encountered where they saw me at Otakuthon in Montreal or YetiCon in Blue Mountain Resort. It fills me with a lot of gratitude when customers go out of their way to visit you because it helps erase those doubts you might feel about your art sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, I was in a pretty negative headspace in the days leading up to FanExpo. And this isn't anyone's fault, but rather just me beating myself up over not getting into a Deltarune fanzine that I really want to be in, and not knowing about any of the Deltarune stamp rallies that took place at Otakuthon and FanExpo because I wanted to be in them too. Sometimes it's tough being an artist in a big fandom that you want to make some sort of impact in or be noticed in some way, but you end up doubting yourself like the work you do doesn't really matter. Of course, I know deep down that I should draw and make stuff for me, first and foremost, but it's normal to want some attention and validation too, and at the same time, I know those things aren't the only things that matter. But everyone who came for my Deltarune stuff, my In-Stars and Time stuff, and everyone else were all so incredibly kind, sweet, and funny, and I won't forget the one customer who said my Deltarune stained glass standee was their favorite purchase at FanExpo. There was even a customer on the last day who wanted a display print of my tenant print, and normally I don't sell my display prints because I reuse them for cons, so they're a bit scuffed around the edges, but this customer loved and wanted this print so much, they were willing to pay $40 for it, instead of $25 for my large prints. Since it was a newer print, it was only a bit scuffed on one side, but the customer still wanted it, so I sold it to them. I didn't have the heart to sell it for $40, especially since it was, not in pristine condition, so I sold it to them for the usual price. I was honestly nervous about FanExpo, given that the theme of the con is more general, meaning that the demographic was going to be more general too. So I was worried that there was going to be more encounters with customers who lacked etiquette. Those customers who will badmouth your art right in front of you, saying how expensive your work is and why would anyone buy this item for this price. But there was honestly none of that from my experience. I had such a good time, and everyone I got to talk to were such a pleasure to serve. Okay, now onto the really cool thing that happened, and is why I titled the video like that, because it is not clickbait. I had the absolute honor and pleasure of meeting Insert Disc 5, the creator of In Stars and Time, at FanExpo. A friend who knows them let them know where my and my friends' tables were, because we both sell ISAT fan merch, and Adrian has mentioned on their social media they want to see and buy ISAT fan merch at cons, and lo and behold, they did visit us! I vividly remember the moment my friend asked, "Wait, are you Adrian?" And I immediately sprang up from my seat like, what? And then my friend and I proceeded to malfunction. God, it felt like such a blur, but I remember I was sweating from head to toe because it's one thing to meet a creator and fellow artist who made something that has impacted you so deeply, but it's a whole nother thing when they want to buy your fan merch of their own game. I love gifting creators and voice actors fan merch of the franchises they're involved in, so when Adrian was like, "I want all the ISAT stuff you have," I was like, "Can't I just give them to you instead?" And they were like, "No!" So I reluctantly, but gratefully, sold them the ISAT fan merch I made, and I gave them an extra thing that I don't plan on selling, and it's something I just made a few of for myself, but I gave them the double-sided silver coin I made with Siphon on one side, and you-know-who on the other. And, to put the cherry on top, since I knew Insert Disc 5 was going to stop by, I made sure to bring my ISAT art book, just in case they're okay with signing it, which they were! I'm so flattered they think I'm cool as hell, what the heck? They also gave me their business card with an embossed loop on the front. Adrian, if you ever stumble upon this video, thank you so much again for stopping by, and I can't wait to play your new game, Toot Scrapper. Man, what a con to end the con season on, eh? I tabled at so many cons this year in comparison to previous years, and I can only hope my con schedule will be just as stacked next year as it was this year. I still have one more con before the year ends, but that's Annie Revo Toronto in November. So I finally have a few months to unwind, draw from leisure, maybe take on a few commissions, and play some new games. The first thing I bought after FanExpo was the Switch 2. By my standards, I did really well at FanExpo, so I can't help but want to treat myself a little. That being said, I do want to add, I did hear and see some artists talk about how they didn't do as well this year at FanExpo as they did last year. So if it seems like I'm gloating a little, that's not my intention at all. This was my first time vending at this event. So I literally don't have any prior experience or profits to work off of in terms of FanExpo. So if you're one of the few artists that didn't do as well this year as you did in previous years, I'm very sorry, and I hope things will be better next year. I know there's probably a lot of factors that might have gone into that, but I hope you can cut yourself some slack and give yourself a well-deserved break, because regardless of how well you did, you deserve a break and you deserve to pat yourself on the back. I don't really know what my next video will be, since my next con is in November, so maybe more gaming videos, or if that rumored September Direct is true, maybe a reaction video to that. It's also Undertale's 10th anniversary this month, so maybe they're gonna do something fun or big for it, like they did when all the dads at Fangamer did that Deltarune Chapter 1 stream. At the very least, we're gonna find out what they used our Undertale memory submissions for, right? Whatever it is, I hope it makes me cry. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. I can't say this enough, but thank you so much to everyone who's been supporting me at cons, my Etsy store, my socials, and or tuning into these videos. My reach here is not that big, but I appreciate everyone who has been stopping by at this small and humble channel of mine. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!